It's now 6:36, and we're going to call the Wilton City School Board of Education regular board meeting to order. First of all, we're gonna have a moment of silence for the student, one of our students that we lost on this past Friday at Wilton Elementary Global Academy. Thank you. We're gonna follow our agenda as printed. And the next item on the agenda is the mission statement. And we can all read it together in unison.
Do we need to approve it first?
This comes after the mission statement. You talking about the agenda?
It's going in and out, so I couldn't hear you, so I wasn't sure where you were, but I see now. Thank you.
Okay. All right, everyone. The mission of the Wilton City School District is to create and
Maintain a highly effective educational system which
every
educates
student receives the highest quality education. School
employees and parents
to prepare
together
students
to prepare students.
competent and responsible citizens who value education as a lifeline process. Thank you. I get a motion, we're gonna review the agenda, and I need a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Like to add transportation to the agenda
Transportation,
and an update on the sales tax interlocal agreement from the Halifax. Board of Commissioners.
What was the last one, Ms. Robinson?
It was the, sales tax interlocal agreement with the Halifax County Board of Commissioners. An update.
Okay, what was the first one you said, what?
Transportation.
Transportation. Okay, we'll move transportation to ten. We'll move sales tax to 11. And then we'll return back to closed session.
We received a handout with EC, is that to be added? We received a handout tonight.
Dr. Stotwell, I have it here. Are we adding that separately?
We already have.
We already have.
We have one.
It's good in presentation. So are you gonna go over it? It's the pleasure of the board. Okay.
I don't have a copy of it, so that will be good.
All right, so we will move EC as E1. Exceptional Children's Program. Okay. Any other additions to tonight's agenda? If not, can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda with the amended agenda for tonight?
I move that we approve the, our agenda as amended.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been motioned by Ms. Kimberly Robinson and seconded by Ms. Donna Harrison to approve tonight's agenda as amended. Are there any questions? If not, can I get your usual vote of sign? Aye.
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 Aye, Tiffany Hill. Ayes have it. And so tonight's agenda has been approved. Next item is open session, approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve minutes, open session minutes?
I move that we approve the minutes for 9/24/24 and 10/7/24 with the only, caution. Ms. Jenkins, we need to make sure we add the notations, like the number 4 for the special call meeting.
Okay.
There was some instructions for Dr. Shopwell to carry out some things that need to be notated in the notes.
Okay. Okay, it's been motioned by Ms. Kimberly Robinson. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned by Ms. Kimberly Robinson again, and seconded by Ms. Donna Harrison to approve tonight, open session minutes from 9/24 and 10/7. Are there any questions from anyone? If not, can I get your usual vote of sign? Aye. Ms. Robinson
Aye.
and Tiffany, ayes have it, and the minutes have been approved. Next item on the agenda is number 6, recognitions and upcoming school events, new hires, Ms. Angela Lee Easton. Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening to the board, vice chair, and the board members. Thank you so much. And good evening to all of you that are attending tonight. Thank you so much for being part of this wonderful event. It's all in what you make. So we will start off tonight with our recognition of our students of the month. We'll begin with our students of the month, and when I call your name, please come up to the front. If you're here, if parents are here, please come up as well. We're gonna take a group picture. From Weldon Global Academy, we have Hayden Carter. Hayden Carter, or his family members here tonight. And from Weldon Middle School, we have Messiah Wright. Messiah here, any family members here? And from Weldon STEM High School Career Academies, we have Kaya Powell. Kaya here for them.
Okay.
Okay, all right. And from Roanoke Valley Early College, we got Nigel Moore. Kay Powell. This scholar goes above and beyond to complete all assignments. Powell shows passion for school and her peers. Her future is bright, and she does what she's That's from this. Roanoke Valley Early College, Nigel Moore. Nigel is an excellent scholar who constantly models the tenets of an early college or early college high school student. He is a well-mannered, focused young man who works hard to accomplish any goals that are set before him. Let's give him a hand. We need to get right here. This is gonna be difficult. Let's move on. So I get a really good picture from the day and a half. Visual, yeah. All right.
Wait for your shirt.
Also have certificates and also a token of our appreciation for all the hard work that you guys have done. We truly appreciate it. World City Schools is very proud of you. I'll give you a token. Oh, this is good. Yes, thank you so much. Here you go. Great job, guys.
Congratulations.
And now we would like to recognize our employee of the month. Our employee of the month, Mrs. Natisha Marilyn. Is that her name? Ms. Natisha is a joy. She enjoys the work that she does and is always looking for an opportunity to expand her knowledge. She is an essential part of Weldon Middle School and Weldon STEM High School Academy. And now we would like to recognize our parent of the month. Our parent is Devanya Harris, Weldon Elementary Global Academy. Ms. Porter said, I am nominating Mrs. Harris because her unending support for Weldon Elementary Global Academy and her students. Anytime we have an activity, Ms. Harris is one of the parents coming in the door. She asks questions and works hard to make sure she support her children and all the children of the school. Give her a hand. And we also have for our recognition for our new hires. Which I think we should do that next month. Oh. We're gonna do that next month. All right, and just short recognition of our volleyball team. Lady Chargers, pink out. Bump set. Great. They got first place championship and also they win for the the Tar Ronald Conference champions for the second time in a year in a row. So that's really, like, Ms. Phyllis never says, historical for them. So we are very proud of our volleyball team. And quickly, I just want to recognize, and I'm sure everybody in here will agree, I want to recognize Ms. Angela Tyler and Mr. Brian Hopkins. The merger has been a success. They're doing an awesome job, and I think that anybody in the community, anybody walking in that building can tell that was a big move. And you see, it's a quiet hallway. Those kids are in the classroom, they're working, they're doing great. So I'm very proud of my peers, so let's give them a hand. End of our recognitions, and I recognize all of you for being here. Thank you so much.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is, public forum. Do we have anyone tonight, Dr. Shawwell?
I have not had anybody come to me and ask.
Okay. Next item, we're moving right along, reports, superintendent report, Dr. Rocky Shaw.
All right, okay. Got a couple different things here. First of all, we've been talking about this, so this is not really kind of a new surprise or anything like that, but this is kind of an addendum to the closing of Weldon High School. Mr. Weber said that we needed to add some data in there in regards to consolidation, and so that's what we did. Basically, in a nutshell, and Bird Robinson, it should be in your inbox. What we did is we looked at the school, and we looked at, again, I used the information that we had from the 2018 study from Davis and Kane Architecture, and also based on the 2015 NCDPI report, where you have to turn in with your feasibility study. You have to do that every 5 years. And that's definitely something that takes a very long time to put together. So Mr. Hunter, if you've not had an opportunity to have that wonderful experience, it's coming to 2025. It's one of those things that's mandated by legislation. And from that, it also is a way for every school district in the state to have communication with their board of commissioners. But pulling from that, the existing site is roughly about 64,000 square feet. And if you go back and look, you know, their overall suggestion back in 2018 was to do major renovations and major additions to the school, which is in essence building a whole brand new school. And that was going to be in 2018, my how time has shown, that was going to be $24.9 million. Now, I put it in context because we were able to have the North Carolina Capital Needs Program that it only cost the taxpayers of Halifax County $3.2 million to build a $65 million school. Had we done the work on the high school back in 2018, 2019, we would still be 16 years left to pay on debt service. And you still, in essence, would still have a part of the building that was built in 1960. And so, so we talk about that. Then there's Exhibit A. If you'll look on the next page, this is the consolidation of districts, discontinuation of schools. Even though technically we're not really discontinuing the school because those schools are going to be together, but they're still going to be separate numbers. They're still individual schools. It's just where they're located. But this was the general statutes that are here. Basically, next month we'll have a public hearing asking someone if they have any objection to what we're about to do to Weldon High School.
Happy to jump in. That's correct. So the process from here, after the study is completed, the district schedules what's called a public hearing. Members can share their inputs, whether it's objections, whether it's support. They just get to provide their thoughts on the study and the closure. In this case, it's really a consolidation, not technically a closure. And then after the hearing, the board is authorized under the statute to vote.
So, and we will probably be in the middle of abatement when we have that hearing. So, and then if you look on the other side, it's just, again, talking about the what's better to do, renovate a facility, or consolidation, or build a new school. And again, one of the things that we have an advantage here is that our children at both Weldon Middle School and Weldon High School will have state-of-the-art athletic fields outside for participation. And inside, we'll have things for our band. And if we ever have a chorus one day, those kinds of things, it's giving kids more opportunities. Because right now, if we try to do anything to create athletic fields at the current Weldon Middle School site, it would just be really out of our price range really to do that and to justify it. But because we bought 32 acres next to the current property, we're able to keep the Ralph Bunch gym and be able to give our boys and girls a nice field for football, maybe one day soccer could come around, track for our men's and women's track team, and then of course for our basketball team as well, and volleyball. And also when we look at Tim's, we had our folks do, if you look at Exhibit B, it's a picture right here. And what you'll see, the larger the dots, the more concentration that you have of students in that particular area. And when you look at the proximity of where the new school is going to be located for our 6th through 12th graders versus where they are now, it's much closer. Bus rides are going to be much shorter. And to me, one of the things that I know that several of you all have mentioned repeatedly, which is very important, and that is safety. And by being here in town, the response time for emergency medical and everything else is just going to be that much quicker than it is going down 301. It's not already safe. It's a great school, but this right here, it just shut, even if our kids aren't on the bus a long time, it still shortens the ride. Because, people seem to forget that that's a moving classroom on wheels. And, and our bus drivers are teachers of about, anywhere from 30 to 60 kids at any one time with their back turned to them, driving 35 miles per hour. So they are heroes and they do very well keeping their classroom together while bringing them in. And then finally, Exhibit C is the summary of what it would have cost in 2018 to be able to do major renovations and a major addition to Weldon STEM High School Career Academy. So my recommendation, since I'm the one that got to author this part of the study, would be to do exactly what you're doing. And that is to build a new building there, and you're going to give a whole lot more opportunities in academics and extracurricular activities for all of our students. Are there any questions? That's number one. Number two, wanted to give you an update on the ESS substitute program. Right now, we are sitting at a 97% fill rate with our students, having somebody in the classroom, the teachers out. You'll also see that there is a survey on the back. The ones that are highlighted are that are in gold. Those are folks that had a negative impression of where we are right now. But like everything else is new, we're working through it. But just a caveat: one of the folks that answered this has also not been. The attendance will be suspect. I'll put it like that. But if you'll go back and look at the page right after the cover page, you'll see that we have only 5 jobs went unfilled through this period of time. And we currently have 16 people that are in their system and approved. However, there are 34 others they're in some form of process through their system to be approved. So, you know, when you bring those folks in there, then that could get us really closer to 50 if we can get everybody in there. And I think some of you all have seen the signs out encouraging folks to apply. And then you can see that the ones that we do have, that out of the 16, 3 have an active license, 4 have an inactive license, and 9 are non-licensed individuals that we have. Does anybody have any questions about that? Yes, ma'am.
I don't have a lot of questions about the license, but I have had, questions and queries about, people that are working with them and were signed up for them, with this company. And they were, reporting that they hadn't received payment. So I was wondering, have everyone received payment now?
That's been rectified.
Okay.
Part of that is also putting it into the system, saying that the person is there, so that ESS knows they're there, because that's how they do the billing back to us.
Okay.
But if somebody brings it up, and that's exactly what happened Friday afternoon, I got a call, and by Monday, mid-morning, Mr. Holloman had it all worked out, and the checks were taken care of. And if you have anybody that's like that, you just gotta let us know, and we'll be glad to address it.
Those, Dr. Caldwell, those people that we had already approved from last year and from this year, their information, we already had their information. Was their information sent to
Yes.
ESS
It was
from
shared.
us, or
Yes.
what did the person have to submit it?
We shared it with them so they could reach out to them
Mhm.
and get in contact so they could go through their system.
Okay.
So any number, email, mailing address, anything that we had to get in contact with them, they made the effort to try to get in contact with them and let them know. I think Mr. Holloman also did the same thing to let them know that the changes were coming up. But we're hoping more of the 34 go ahead and finish up the process so we can have some more folks on there. And you definitely need that. This is the joint resolution between us and Halifax Community College. I saw Dr. Robertson yesterday, and I told her that you all would be receiving it, and then we'll go for a vote in November, making sure that the new verbiage in there that's highlighted in yellow, if there's any concerns that you all have about that we let Jason know or myself know, and we can deal with that, and then we'll have a final copy for the November board meeting for approval. Again, you know, I know we were the first early college in the county. And we're the best early college.
Should have been the home. That's the way it was written.
That's exactly right. Yes, ma'am, I know. Let me see. And then, see, did we do those? They got the testing slides in their packet. Yeah. And then the last thing that I had was for the testing coordinators at the individual schools. They just requested, because of the extra duty, if they could get $250 for the year.
What was that?
See?
I didn't see that. I didn't see that. Or whether we didn't. Mr. Holland?
No, but the only reason why it's not in personnel and closed session, because it deals with everybody. So it's not an individual, it's everybody who's doing that position.
Dr. Shotwell,
Yes, ma'am.
so that, we're saying 4 people, right?
Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's actually 5. It would be $250 per semester, actually. So a total of $500. It's 500 for 4 and 250 for the other, because the EOGs only occur once a year. So for the middle school and the elementary school, the testing coordinator would only get 250, because the high schools have testing both semesters. That's why it's 250 for each semester for them. The total cost will be $2,000 per year.
So we're not covering, the beginning of year test for the
That-
elementary school? I totally support the supplement, totally support it. But I'm just wondering, are we gonna do, since you said it was just one for elementary, I know there's a beginning of grade test that we have to give as well for elementary for just, of course, one grade level. But are we not gonna do that for the elementary person as well?
Well, yeah, I can work it to the board's pleasure, and if that's what y'all would like to do, I would like to say that if you do that, then I would also want the middle school one to also have that same opportunity because they do benchmarks.
Benchmark was gonna be my next thing. Yes,
If you just want to do 250 a semester for the 5 in the fall, 250 in the spring, across the board, we can do that.
I totally support that.
Yes, ma'am, I get you. But you know, counselors can't do it anymore. It's against, the law doesn't allow them to do that. So I'm just the instructional coach or the CMDC at the high school. But you pass that one around there. And we can wait and I can bring that back for formal approval in the November meeting. I just wanted to bring it to your attention, so just in case it comes up.
I mean, unless you just want to pass it around, we're gonna wait until November, we can get the copy and I pack. And we're gonna formally approve it in November, so we everybody have a copy.
One other question for Dr. Shotwell.
Y'all want to,
No.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Jenkins? You want to?
Yes, ma'am.
Does she have a question?
I do. I do.
Okay.
Dr. Shotwell, I know that we talked about, we had initially been told that the process for demolishing of the high school, that process would start, we thought was over the summer. Now that it's going to actually start later, will that, are we still going to be on target to start school with our students the date that we were given before? Are we still going to be on target for that, for opening of school?
Officially, they're going to be able to hand us with substantial completion for us to move in. It'll be August of 2026. Two things that are going to help us get us back on track where we were. It would be, and again, the reason that we're at this point is because when the initial bids came in, we were 4.9 million over the budget for that. And so what we're hoping for, because I asked this question at our meeting, that if there's no complications, because what we do have worst case scenario budget line items for the demolition and site preparation. And if we don't encounter a 57 Chevrolet being buried underneath the school or lawnmowers or other field type things, then or rock, then we should be able to recoup some of that money to be able to look at some of our alternates that we have that are before us. You know, one of the alternates that we've been discussing is the generator. And I can just tell you from talking to my colleagues in Western North Carolina, the center of the community is the school. People gravitate towards our public schools for help. I just hope people remember that, because we are the center of the community. We are the heartbeat of the community. And I feel pretty strong. I've asked them to give me 2 different size generators. One to run the cafeteria and emergency lighting and the burglar system, which is the initial one they proposed. And then another one that would run the port, which would be the cafeteria, media, gym, everything. So basically, if you think about the layout, the classrooms would be closed off, but everything there in the middle. And I feel really strongly about that, because I know that the community college is one of the emergency sites here, and they're an excellent partner. But when you're talking about school, we have showers, we have industrial kitchen. We can do a whole lot for a whole lot of people.
Right.
And that's why I feel pretty strong about that. And kind of going into the question, that was asked about the interlocal agreement. I'm hoping to be able to meet with Ms. Denton next week to talk about it, so that we can, work past that 50%. My proposal would be if we could do something similar to what we do with the, federal funds. And, we charge the program 15% for administrative oversight. Because it goes back to the fact that if it hadn't been for Jason and Rod bringing it to the county's attention, we wouldn't be getting anything,
Exactly.
and we wouldn't be getting anything. And so, when I look, again, we're building a $65 million building for a really, really low price. And I want my girls to have a lighted softball field. I want my boys to have a lighted baseball field. They shouldn't go to somebody else's school district and say, man, I wish I had that. We're gonna have it here because we're gonna have a nice stadium. We're gonna have a nice track. Our kids just deserve so much. And I've had some personal things going on outside of work that I've had to take care of. And so it's on me. But she knows that I want to have a conversation with her about that. But I feel pretty strong about it. And I think when we place it back to, this is not about the adults, it's about the children.
Right, our future.
Yeah.
And Dr. Shotwell, I'll say this. At this point in time, it's just not now that our students have been deserving.
Oh, that's right.
They've been deserving for a long time. And a whole lot of things when it was Weldon's time to receive different things, just, things like you mentioned in there was kind of, put to the back burner. We'll get that in the next budget, and it never happened. So I'm all in favor of that, and I will restate again, that's why I am adamantly hoping that we will receive all of those funds so we can do things like that. And it's sales tax. It's not like the commissioners have, spent any extra. It's sales tax revenue that will come back. We can do those things like the lighted fields and making sure that our students have that, because it is very disappointing for our students to go to another school district and then they say, because they say it, wish that we had that at our school. It's gonna come up.
Yes.
And if we have an opportunity that we can eradicate that ever being said, I hope the county will see and say, yes, let's make sure that students in Weldon have that same benefit of any other district.
The thing for me coming to Weldon is that it's been an absolute wonderful experience, because what I have seen is what people don't talk about, and that is the resolve of the people in this city and how strong they believe in their school. We had a senior activity last night. We had parents there. They want their kids to have the very best. And our kids deserve the very best.
Exactly.
And
That being said,
yes, ma'am.
Dr. Shotwell, our athletes, they have not been able to have a home game football. For foreseeable future, we probably will not be having a home basketball game.
No, ma'am.
Our seniors are missing out,
Yes.
and they should not have a deficit because we're growing and because we're building a new school. So there needs to be something along with the athletic director and the coaches and whomever else to make sure that our seniors are recognized, because usually they have senior night on football games. They have senior night during the basketball games, and we're in enough school, so that's not feasible.
Right.
So we need to make sure something is held special for our senior class who are athletes. So they will not feel slighted this year because we're in the midst of our growing up.
Couldn't agree.
And we need to go into making plans for the next few years. So we'll know that this is something we have to do until this school is built.
Hopefully it's only for
One more
2
year.
years.
Right, well, 2. So we know we're gonna have to do it at least 2 years. So we need to go on and make sure we start planning it now for this year.
Yes, ma'am.
Because our athletes, they are also, they're scholars first, but they are also athletes. And they've been doing a very great job. So I think that we need to make sure that that happens.
Well, yeah,
And they've been going to schools
Yeah.
and they've been putting it down.
you know, Northampton, I went there for the first match last week that decided who was gonna be in first place.
Mhm.
And then I was there on Tuesday night when they played in the first round. And, you know, and I think,
You talking about volleyball?
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And I think, Dr. Atkins, the superintendent in Northampton, for allowing us to use their facility. I mean, they opened it up and let us treat it like it was our home. And, you know, we've also learned a lot about our fellow, athletes and coaches. They've been very open, very helpful for us because, you know, one of the things we've talked about is revenue.
Right.
And, you know, both, Coach Lynch, Mr. Hopkins and myself, we're working things out to where when we have a home game elsewhere, we are getting a portion
That's good.
of that. We're kind of treating it a little bit like the old endowment games where you take off the cost of the security,
Referees.
and referees and things, and then you take the rest and you split it in half. They get the benefit for having to get everything prepared for it, and then we also get something that we can bring back, put it into our athletic program. So, you know, and back to the original question, I bet you thought I was gonna forget.
No, I was
But-
getting ready to ask you to go back to my question. Okay.
Hey, look, everybody will tell you, that's amazing that I'm able to bring this thing back around like this. But, we're thinking about sometime, we haven't defined a date yet, because I want to work with you all, but where we have a dedication ceremony and also demolition at the same time. So, because, well, it's not, think about it, it's not like you see on TV. It's not gonna be somebody pushing the button and then it's gone. It's gonna be a more slow process, but, you know, it was brought to my attention that some of the alumni would like to be there to say goodbye to the school whenever it starts to be, you know, brought down. And so we've talked with, Clancy, our, general contractor, and and I think that's a pretty good idea. That way we can invite all the people to celebrate what we're going to have. And then we can have a whole crew out there to celebrate our history and what we had and what we're going to continue once this building is complete.
I just feel a little
So are we
disheartened.
expected to be able to have our students in on August 2026?
So
On that.
What's that?
she wants to know if we're gonna have our students in the building on August 2026.
Are we still on target for that?
Yes, ma'am, that is our goal. What we're hoping for, I asked this question too, that at what point will I know that we can gain, that we're gaining time on getting this building completed? And that's part of my job and Mr. Hall's job is to keep that pushed in the forefront of the contractors. If there's no issues with the demolition and the site prep, and we start setting the footings and getting it set in, once we get it dried in, we can rock and roll. In about 8 months, we should actually, probably January, February, we should be able to tell you if we've gained back a month or two, because originally we were supposed to be able to move in the 1st of July of 2026. So there's a 6-week separation there. I can tell you that it's been like watching pickleball between Ratio and Clancy going back and forth. One saying, well, I thought it was gonna be a 20-week project. The other one said, that's gonna be 22 weeks. And they said, but you got a similar project. It's 1-story school with the same square footage. That's an 18-week project. 18-month project. And so we feel like somewhere there's a happy medium. Hopefully it's gonna be 20. And yeah, they've already included the extra time with abatement, because originally it was only been, it's gonna be 10 days for abatement, and now it's 15. But again, once we get that done, we can start rocking and rolling. And we have reclaimed the Freon in all the units over there.
And you're gonna get the truck.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, listen,
Please get
you can ask them. Have I not been harassing you?
On the truck.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And I know that you all had, had asked about band, but I see our wonderful, Mr. Manning back here, if you'd like for me to introduce him to you all. This is Mr. Jolly Manning, our wonderful, outstanding, beautiful band director. I was down there the other week and I sat down and I know he's sitting there thinking, is he here observing me? And I said, no, man, I said, I'm in here listening to this music. And those kids were having so much fun. And that, I mean, that, to me, again, that's what school's about. It's about having fun. And they've got to have outlets. Everybody has a talent and he is definitely bringing out the talent. And I'm gonna tell you, he has the patience of Job. Because I saw one of his alto sax players, he walked around for about 5 minutes trying to find a mouthpiece. He eventually got it, but he just floated, and then one of his bandmates said, dude, get your mouthpiece in there. And then he finally found it.
It was good.
But it sounds, it just sounds wonderful.
We're excited.
And our PIO wants to add something to all this.
Yeah, I just wanted to share with everyone, we have an alumni, well, our class, 1969, that will buy and house the trophies. And I talked to, Ms. Hopkins. So that class, they're gonna buy a unit to put those trophies in for us and keep them for us. They say even the pictures, they will keep those pictures. They did not see those names and stuff. So we can, consider that. That would give us keep us with some space.
Are the pictures in storage?
They're at the elementary school, in the media center.
Okay.
In addition,
They have an additional.
Okay.
Because I'll tell you, I don't know, I just love going back and seeing the pictures of all the different classes. Things, because I think that's one of the things that you all spoke very strongly about. And Ms. Hale can tell you that I brought this up when they were talking about the alternates, about including some of the brick in the new school. I said, there is not an option on whether or not we're gonna do this. It's just gonna be how you're gonna get it done. And so we're excited about that. I'm excited. I think building a new school, it's actually getting ready to happen. Mr. Hunter and I were meeting this morning, and people say, so when's it gonna get started? He said, man, it is in motion. It's getting ready to happen. It's getting ready to happen big time. But we will be getting with you all to find a date and a time that would really work, sometime maybe mid-November, so that we can do that and get the word out to everybody. And then the other thing that we're doing on November the 6th, from 4 to 6, we are at Weldon Middle School. We're going to celebrate Weldon City Schools being great.
November 6th.
Hmm?
November 6th.
November 6th. We're gonna recognize our teachers of the year. We're going to recognize our principal of the year. We're going to recognize the schools that came out of status. And then we're going to celebrate everybody.
At what time?
Moving forward. And it's the program is going to be more towards the front, but then it'll be floating. We will have food there for everyone, but we just wanted to celebrate and let everybody know, and we'll invite the press to come to it as well, because I think they need to come.
What time is that, Dr. Shotwell?
It's on November the 6th, 4 to 6 o'clock at the middle school.
One other thing, in the high school, when they begin the demolition of Hopkins, Shotwell, when you all out there, please preserve the plate that's in the wall with the names on it when the school was built in 19.
We actually talked about that.
Yeah.
We're going to be incorporating those into the new school.
Right, yeah.
For each of the building sections.
Right, yeah,
From the original to the 1990.
right.
Yes, sir.
even if it's put in the casing or something,
Yeah.
you know, for memory's sake, however it's done, you know, we want to make sure we preserve, because many of those people are deceased now, and they were from, you know, our district, they live right here in the community, so, yeah, we want to make sure that we keep that as well. That's all I have.
That's all you have. Well, thank you, Dr. Shotwell. Thank you. That was one of the things that I was going to also mention in my report. But Dr. Shotwell has mentioned it already, so I won't go back, but I would like to say that it is October and we have survived the first 9 weeks of our school year. And so far, it's been looking good. As Ms. Angela Lee Easton said earlier about the transition or the consolidation of the two schools, Weldon High School and Weldon Middle School. And I speak on it because I'm there every day. It's been a very smooth transition thanks to Ms. Tyler and Mr. Hopkins and your staff. You all have done an exceptional job.
Yeah.
I'm just so proud of the district, especially for us coming out of local performance status. Dr. Robinson, Dr. Paul. Mr. Hopkins, same here, I mean. Yeah, two of C,
To see.
that's outstanding,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's something for us to be proud of. Ms. Tyler, with Weldon Middle School, we didn't move a letter grade, but guess what our students gained? They broke, yeah. And, you were also a part of that too, Mr. So I commend all of you all, it was a group collaboration, it's a district collaboration, from the bus driver to the custodian,
Right.
to the teachers, everybody, we work together for the common good of these children, and we can make a difference within Weldon City students. If we continue to work together, not against each other.
Yes.
So, I commend everybody in the district, not calling just one or two people out. Everybody's doing an outstanding job, but moving forward, I see the changes. If you all see, I see changes being made, and if we continue to stay on the same course, we'll continue to see changes in a positive manner. So thank you all, each and every one. Thank you. All right, next one, next item is going to be, application for vacant board seat. And I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Webb. I know last month we did speak about advertising, but we need to, tonight we need to do more discussion, deep discussion on when we're gonna start to advertise, what's gonna be an advertisement, and what we're looking for in set deadlines at this point in time.
Absolutely, happy to. So board members, this is an unfortunate item, but a necessary one for you. With the unfortunate passing of Chairman James Williams, you have a vacancy on the board. And under the applicable statute and your own policies, you have the authority to appoint someone to fill that vacancy. There was a question around how long that person would serve, whether it would be just until this next election coming up in several weeks, or through the remainder of Mr. Williams' term, which would have otherwise ended in 2026. And we have clarity on that now from the local board of elections. The individual will serve through the remainder of Mr. Williams' term, so through 2026. And outside of granting you the authority to fill the vacancy, there really is no other clear structure under the statute or the policy. The typical process starts with posting what's called a notice of vacancy. That's something that's published on your website, communicated through, any other means that you have, whether it's social media or otherwise. And the purpose of that advertisement essentially is to seek letters of interest. So essentially it opens up the field. Anyone who's interested in filling the vacancy, they get to submit a letter of interest. The next steps from there would be for the board to review those letters, decide who you would like to bring in to interview, and then you conduct those interviews and then ultimately select a candidate. Now, unlike a personnel matter, this all happens in open session. So the letters of interest are largely public records. The selection process, the interviews, it's similar to if you make appointments to a community college or, another board, it all happens in open session. So I have drafted and provided to you last month, and I believe it's in the agenda materials tonight, a draft advertisement. There are a few areas in here where there are blanks where I need direction from you on some deadlines. The first is the deadline for your letters of interest. Again, there's no hard and fast rules for how long you want to keep this open. And then the second would be clarity around and direction from you on posting the advertisement. You know, if you do it tonight with deadlines, that you can post it, I think, tomorrow. I would think, Dr. Shotwell,
Yes, sir.
that's doable. In terms of the additional deadlines, like selecting candidates, scheduling interviews, and scheduling a date and time to select an individual, you can decide those now, but you certainly don't have to. You know, you could adopt the advertisement in its current form, just have that first major deadline, and then make those other decisions at your next board meeting. So there's no requirement for you to sketch it all out now. It can be a multi-month process, and it usually is.
Jason, excuse me, Attorney Weber, do you have another copy of that notice?
I do not have.
This is the email. I asked for a copy of it. So I was like,
It is an e-board. We could pull it up.
Just for posting, I think we need to go ahead on and post that tomorrow. We have the outline here. Me personally, I think we ought to set maybe a November 10th deadline to get the letters of interest in, maybe midnight or 11:59 p.m. November the 10th. And I'm just basing on that when you actually have to file for any seat, you have a window of about 2 weeks or, you know, in that respect to actually do your filing. And that's what's jogging my mind. So if we do tomorrow and maybe let the cutoff time be 11:59 on the 10th of November, that gives, you know, yeah, it is, but you're building in weekends. So if people are busy during the week with work, it, you know, won't be any excuses, nobody submitting a letter of interest because you have, you know, the weekends to actually do it in that respect. That's just my thought process. As far as that is concerned, that we would establish, if we post it tomorrow, we would have the deadline 11:59 p.m. on November the 10th. That'll give about 16 days, roughly.
Then that would give you time at your November meeting to discuss your next steps.
Right.
we can see how many we receive and then how long it take to do interview.
Go back, hold on, let me see. Go back over those dates again now. Tomorrow, I know tomorrow the advertise.
Okay.
I'm with that.
No, I'll mention one date, November 10th, 11:59. And he said that would give us, when we come to our November meeting, we could establish whatever day you want to interview, you know, etc.
Can I ask a question? How long do we have a certain time frame, do we have to fill this vacancy?
No, other than the statute and your policy give you the authority to appoint, there's no strict timeline as to when you have to do that. So it's not like you have to have it done by your November meeting or your December meeting. My understanding is one of the most recent boards that also had to do this was Northampton. It was a multi-month process.
Right, okay, thank you.
Question.
Excuse me.
So if we're saying we're gonna give it a 2-week time frame, if we look at getting the, are we looking at getting together the week of the 11th of the week so that we can go through the applications and then interview that week so that we could possibly, are we trying to have a name to bring on the 21st or no? Can you clarify that for me, board?
Yeah, so I would just say that that's at your discretion. If you want to decide those next steps now, you can. I heard Ms. Robinson make a great point, you know, it might depend on the number of letters of interest that you get in terms of how long it's going to take you all to carefully review, so you can be prepared to come and discuss and then identify who you want to interview. And you're certainly authorized at this point to leave those dates, you know, to be determined essentially.
Okay.
And even if we did set a date, you know, after the closing, to actually look through everything, it still doesn't mean in the November board meeting that you actually have to do an appointment. You can still carry that to, you know, December, January, if you want to. I just think we need to establish before we leave here tonight, the open date, which would be tomorrow, and close date, which would be the 10th of November, 11:59 p.m. So we can have, you know, all those persons that's interested, and you won't just draw it out like you see some vacancies until Bill. I mean, we don't want to just, because that's going to be, to me personally, a waste of time if you just leave it open and then you got to come and, you know, decipher through letters this week, and then you got to come back 3 weeks later because you got some more letters, just the deadline, so everybody's interested. It's going to be publicized. It's not like people not going to hear it. They're not going to know. It can be posted on the website, of course, and whatever social media outlets we have. That's just my thought. Make sure we get that closing date, so whoever's interested, this is the time. You got to get it in by
Well, me
this
personally,
particular date. And if it's not November 10th, I mean, I just do something out there.
my personal thoughts are, feel like, yes, the position has to be, we have to fill the position. But I feel like it's really I don't want to rush into filling a position. We just lost a board member. Somebody, a staple in the community, and I feel like we need to take our time and, I mean, just not really rush into this and have someone to go ahead on and feel, we're doing okay right now. The position is gonna have to be filled, but I feel like we don't have to rush into it. And that's just my personal thoughts, my opinion.
And just for clarity, I'm not saying rush into appointing something. I'm saying establish a cutoff time so people can go ahead on the clock. Just because, you know, just say if it's the 10th of November, letters of interest will be in by that time, but the board can take as long as the board want to actually appoint someone. You would just have gotten the letters of interest in from whoever, you know, the individuals may be. That's what I'm saying. As Attorney Weber said earlier, you can do as much or as little in the meeting, and that would just be the initial step. The application starts tomorrow, cutoff time to send your letter, November 10th by 11:59 p.m. That's all I'm saying. I wouldn't say anything else.
That's right. So if the deadline's November 10, I think your regular meeting, it would be November 21st.
Right.
So that would get all of you time, you know, let's say you get 10 applications or 100, that gives you a week and a half to really look at those and be ready on the 21st to decide what your next steps are, what your next deadlines are.
And if we get to the 21st meeting and we don't want to make any next steps, we can say, we're not gonna do anything else, we'll wait until December.
I just need clarification on what format. They mail it, as long as it's postmarked or by November 10th. And then you want us to set up a separate email for them to be able to send it to.
Yes.
And then they, of course, they can drop it by.
Right. I think those are, certainly add those details in terms of whether you are going to require, you know, paper versus whether you'll accept it both through mail, email, and hand delivery. And the way it's written now, the November 10, 11:59 p.m. deadline, that would be the deadline to have it in, right? So if it's postmarked, that's not good enough. It needs to be submitted
Well, I think if we establish, personally, I wouldn't want to have it dropped off. I would want to have some type of date stamp on it. The post office will provide a date stamp. If you email it, it's going to be an electronic, time up there. And of course, the email can be set up where it shuts down 12 midnight. So it will be, November the 11th that you can't send it. So if you don't get it in by 11:59 p.m., you wouldn't be able to submit it. And what Dr. Shockwell said, I would personally, if you're gonna mail it, it needs to be postmarked. So if it has the date stamp on it from the post office, which you can do, by the 10th, we will still accept it in that respect because it will have a valid date stamp on it. That's me.
Ms. Hale,
Yes,
may I say something?
Yes.
I don't think since you said that we don't have to make a decision, I think we need to discuss that maybe at the next board meeting or something, because I don't think we need to set no date now right now. For me, I'm only speaking for me.
I would say on this particular point as to, what this deadline means and how these letters can be submitted, if you're going to set a deadline tonight, which I think certainly makes sense, it would also make sense to clarify whether you'll accept email, mail, and whether the 11:59 p.m. deadline means like the date it's actually in the superintendent's office itself versus postmarked. So I do think if you're going to set that date, we need to clarify those things. And to Dr. Shotwell's point about establishing a special email address, I think that's a great idea. What you could certainly do if you approve this with any other changes, you could just delegate to the superintendent the authority to, go back and put in what that actual address is.
Do y'all want format of any kind, or you just want them to write a letter about why they want to?
I think it should,
And that's addressed in here. So, so if I can, so under, so this isn't just a notice of vacancy and the deadlines. It also includes a hyperlink and citations to some of the applicable requirements, right? For someone to serve on the board, they have to meet certain requirements. So there's a link to where individuals can find that information. It clarifies for them that to be eligible, they have to meet those requirements. There's also information in here about the term of the appointment, and then under outline of the process, that's where under subsection 1, there's some additional detail for those who are interested as to what their letter of interest needs to include. That would include the reason for a candidate's interest in serving on the Weldon City Board of Education, an explanation of the candidate's qualifications that support the reasons that he or she is the best candidate, to include potential contributions and assets that the candidate would bring to the board and Weldon City Schools, the vision the candidate has for Weldon City Schools, and contact information. And then I think in section 2, that's where we could clarify if there's a specific email address that could be added under subsection 2, and also under your timeline.
And the only other thing I would say that it letters of interest, according to what we have written here, must be postmarked by the specific date. So if it does come in the mail and it comes on the 12th, if they mailed it Saturday, the 9th, it's postmarked the 9th. It comes the 12th, it will still be counted the date stamp, if they, want to mail it.
Yeah, no, that into the.
So what I just, to really quick, just to capture that point. So I've revised this in the introductory paragraph, where it states letters of interest will be accepted through November 10, 2024 at 11:59 p.m. via email or regular mail. Another sentence, letters submitted via mail must be postmarked by the deadline.
So no hand deliveries.
I wouldn't,
You need to specify that.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hand delivery.
yeah, no hand delivery. I wouldn't.
we had done that, I would do it like we do bids. We have a date stamp. Then somebody signed it, and they got it.
And right, so there's ways to verify the date of receipt. So if you do want to allow hand delivery for someone who stops by the central office, it would just be guidance to whoever's in the office to make sure they take it, they have a log, they mark down the date and time and the individual who dropped it off. Because something you usually do, just like your bid process.
You could do that, but you always run the risk. Came in, but somebody signed off, you can change a date stamp. You can't do that with the post office. You can't do that with email.
In the world of technology today, there are certain technological, prerequisites that members of the board should have. And this will kind of start beginning with that,
Right.
knowing that they are somewhat on the computer. So that's a bare minimum.
Right.
With that being said, Dr. Shotwell and Vice Chairman Hale, I desire, it's my desire and request that we do something. James, there needs to be a plaque presented to them. There needs to be something planned. I don't know if you want to do it on the November 6th day, we're celebrating. I don't know when it needs to be done. But I think we talked about it before, Dr. Shotwell, that needs to happen prior to this appointment. Move on
Oh,
with
yeah,
whatever we
yeah.
do, but prior to the appointment, actual appointment, that needs to take place and happen.
I agree.
Need to kind of make some kind
I
of proclamation and resolve regarding him and his mental status on this board. Yes, that needs to happen. We need to do that decent and
I agree with
And,
that.
and I would not want to see that meshed together with November the 6th.
No.
That needs to be a standalone,
let it happen.
yeah, that needs to happen by itself.
It can happen at a board meeting if you wanted to, but it needs not to, you know.
Yeah.
But
It
it needs to
be
happen
just special,
in 2024.
And if we can do that in November, that would be great.
right?
At the board meeting.
At least I would say at a board meeting, if we didn't have anything, special to do that.
Mhm.
Yeah. At the bare minimum, I would
To
say.
honor.
board
We
meeting.
definitely need to honor.
I would like to say, and I have no problem with that. I agree wholeheartedly with that. And before we move on to appoint someone, I would like for that to happen.
Oh, sure, yeah.
That's why I say it has to happen quiet.
Right. Right,
You don't put the cart before the horse.
right.
Yeah, I think we all agree on that.
Oh, no. Cause I thought someone was gonna be doing it last month. I really did. Oh, no. September.
So board members, I've made those changes, with the deadline to post the advertisement October 25th, so tomorrow. And the deadline to submit letters of interest, November 10, 2024, by 11:59 PM, along with the clarification that the letters may be submitted via email or regular mail, and those submitted via regular mail must be postmarked by the deadline, as well as a note about no hand delivery. So if there's general support for that, then someone can make a motion to approve as revised.
Motion to approve as it has been presented and revised.
Malik,
No.
you guys can go ahead and make that email address like do board vacancy at weldonk12.org. And then once we get it, we'll send it to you so we can have it.
Can you send us a copy of the updated one?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
There's been a motion and second.
Yes.
Any questions?
What are we voting on in here?
We're voting on, we're putting it out there on tomorrow to advertise and, to have a cutoff date for November 10th at 11:59 p.m. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
I oppose.
I vote.
Is there additional discussion?
Ms., in discussion, Mr. Harrison?
Well, I oppose to because I really want us to wait on this. I don't want to rush. But,
Ms. Burr Robinson?
No discussion for me. I've pretty much said what I needed to. And that is, I don't want us to appoint anyone before we have this. And I think we all agreed on that. So it's not a rush thing to me because we are definitely, Mr. Williams, we have to honor him. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And it looks like we have a plan to do that. So, I mean, I'm fine with us moving forward with the date, knowing that nothing is going to happen before we do something in honor of him. So I didn't oppose.
What's his name? Okay. So you have, 3 yea, 3 nay.
So the motion fails. I'm happy to bring this back in November.
Okay.
All right.
And I'll provide the updated drafts.
Okay. And we're saying all of that, still, I'm not saying we're not gonna go forward with it. I would still like to have an email address generated so that we can still work it there. Only creating the email address, if we're not doing it. We're gonna do it.
What we just said.
What I'll do in the draft, I'll include blanks for the dates. It sounds like there's general consensus for some of those other parameters.
Yeah.
So I'll revise it with those other components and the email address. Then at the next meeting, all you would really need to do at that point is determine your deadlines.
Okay. Okay, next item on the agenda is financial report.
We've got the financial statements for, all the way through the end of September. And, if you look at the local current expense fund, again, since we've not passed the budget yet, we're just including where we are in terms of what we've been able to collect revenue. And you can see that the net result for, the special fund 8 is a $120,362.46 in the negative. However, with the fund balance from July 1st and subtracting that from that, we still finish up the month at $1,602,743.60. And it's late enough where, ladies and gentlemen, I gotta get my glasses. When the numbers start looking like there's something else, I don't want to be wrong. All right, and then if we look at current expense fund, do the same thing through the month of September. We had expenses for the month for $203,479.30. The net result for the year, we still are in the negative at $236,962.25. The fund balance as of July 1st was $1,207,694.76. After that adjustment, it has an unobligated fund balance of $970,732.51. Next, is capital outlay. And there's really not been a whole lot of movement on that, really since July 1st, but if you look at this, the net result for the year is still a negative $233,957.97. Our fund balance was $1,290,758.36. We subtract the negative We end up finishing the month at $1,056,800.39. And then we go to the Child Nutrition Fund through the end of September. And their net result for the year thus far is only a negative $5,850.78. And the fund balance as of July 1st was $229,305.62. And when you make the adjustment, their unobligated fund balance is $223,444.84. And so you'll see those negative numbers go away when we get to the next item, which is the 24-25 budget. But are there any questions on the financial statements that we have?
Okay.
All right. Yeah, as I told you last month, we finally were able to get the LBAS communication with DPI. It's us and about 26 other school districts that have chosen not to go to links yet. However, when this kid comes on board, we're going to go ahead and start making plans to move over to links. The desktop version, I want y'all to understand that, where it stays on our server. We're not going to do the one in the cloud. There's issues with that. So we're learning from other people's experience on that. But with that being said, we are also, we've been able to get our federal dollars pulled together. And what you have before you is the 24-25 budget as presented to you on this day. We have a total of $13,389,638.25 in revenue, and we have an equal corresponding amount of expenses. We are still using a little bit of fund balance when you're looking at current expense coming in to balance this year out. But when you look at last year, we had almost $750,000 that was being allocated from fund balance to balance your budget. We are now at $189,992.40. And I always look at it this way, that we have taken every line item and we're expecting the worst case scenario, that everything's going to be spent. And, you know, just like your home budget, sometimes you get lucky and your electric bill, your gas bill is not quite as high as you thought it was going to be, and you gain a little bit of ground. And the same thing is here. When we look at the supplemental tax that you see, if you go to the local current expense tab, the supplemental tax, what we do is that we take the actual amount that we received over a 12-month period of time from July to July of last year. We take that. There was we were able to keep our tax rate at 20 cents per 100. So we could be gaining a little bit on there for this year, but that'll still remain to be seen. And the question was also asked of me if there was any way that we could possibly do employee bonuses. I did have a conversation with our auditors about that, and we both kind of came to a similar recommendation that what we don't have anymore is the ESSER funds. And what we've been able to do with the federal dollars is we've been able to collect 15% of those ESSER funds. And that's what you have in Fund 8. That's why you see that the restricted fund is able to increase like it has. But we're not getting those monies anymore. And so that revenue coming in, we had to take some employees that were being paid out of the ESSER funds and pick them up either in state, local, or federal. And so there's about five people that are recouped in one of those three budgets that normally you would have probably asked them to terminate their employment because of the ESSER funds ending. But picking it back up in local and state and a little bit in the federal with Title I, we're doing it that way. But I did not get any emails about the budget. So we'd really like to go ahead and get things finalized with our system before Ms. Kidd gets here to get the budget situated, because this is based on the original allocations that we received from the state and federal funds. And then we're already on allotment provision 38. And so what I do have that, I mean, yes, I would love for y'all to approve it, but at the same time, I also want to give deference to your opinion. But we do have the budget amendments that will catch up the original budget if it's passed and bring it up to date. That will include all the federal dollars that we've been able to get because LPAS working. And I have this here passed out too. But the original budget is the one that was presented last month. There are very few adjustments. If there's any adjustments, it's just shoring up where people are being paid from. So if they're being paid from Restart, and that was another thing that we talked about too. I think one of the things that's helping us get certified teachers to get their certification is that we say, okay, we do have flexibility to be able to hire you. But if you don't start making gains towards getting a teaching certificate, then you're going to be at base zero on the Restart scale. And in some cases, that's as much as $9,000 to $10,000 difference in an annual salary. I think it's motivation. So.
Ms. Hale, I just have one question. As a board, we normally sit down. I know we always approve numbers before the budget actually comes. Thank you. But I'm just trying to figure out, I don't know, thank you. I don't know which end it was on. Why didn't we have a sit down budget meeting like we normally do to actually go through and, just lay it out? Because and I say this because we've done this before, there were some things that we felt that was, important to go in there, that we made some modifications to, just some things that we wanted to see our students have in that respect. Is there a specific reason why we didn't have a budget meeting as we normally? I know we always approve just, some working number July, like we do, just so we won't, start without something. But we normally sit down definitely either September or 1st of October and actually, go through it section by section, or if there's specific section that we actually need to increase on, we actually do it. And I know sometimes we have numbers, kind of parallel with the year before, but there have been some years that we needed to increase some things. And, we just took the collaboration and the comments for the board. I use, for example, on one particular year, Ms. Jenkins brought up about the middle school needing, we need to put some extra funding in there in a particular year, so our student athletes could have what they needed in that respect. And we actually sat down. You remember that, don't you, Ms. Jenkins? We actually sat down and we went through that. It was basically the same numbers from the year before. But after hearing what Ms. Jenkins was saying in the budget meeting, we put, some more money there to make sure that it was taken care of in that particular year. And I was looking forward to actually us sitting down, doing little things like that, where all of us have been paying attention to. So that was my only concern.
Well, I have no excuse for that. I did not, and I've been on the board for a long time, so it's kind of been the same thing every year, but I just wait until I'm told or directed to. And I don't think that it's too late because we have not approved this, so we can go back and go through it as a board to see what can be done and if we can add on to some things or take away from some things. It does not necessarily have to be approved tonight. We can go through it and we can set a date. And I agree with you on that as well. We normally do. As a matter of fact, last year, when Ms. Campbell was working with us, and she went through everything with a fine-tooth comb and kind of explained things that she had never explained it that way to us. and we were able to better understand the budget and the numbers and things of that nature. So, if we can set a date right now to come back to the table and work on this budget as soon as possible so that we can get it approved.
And yeah, just for clarification, one of the things that when we put this budget together was to try to maintain all the employees that we have working with our students and still taking into account the increase in health insurance, retirement match, and also the increase in salaries from the raises from the state. But also the other thing is setting you all up for financial security in the future, because last year you all were expecting to spend $1 million in your savings account in your budget, and we ended up, in large part, still feel like it's because of what we were able to do at ESSER. You're still going to end up potentially, but we used all the ESSER funds to do payroll in July and August. And while that's going to benefit us, everybody talked about the cliff. We're off the cliff. 2025-26 budget is going to be the splash. And it depends if you're going to do a belly flop or you're going to do one with a little motion and you're just going to dive right on in. And so that would be my only thing, is that, trying to look towards the future and making sure that you do have that rainy day account so that when things don't go well. For instance, y'all been through Floyd. And at that time, every bit is getting spent. A friend of mine was in Onslow when the last big one came through, and he spent every dime that he had in his fund balance, his capital account, and still had to go and get emergency funds for it. But of course, they got paid back. As you know, it's not going to happen overnight.
Right.
And so I just worry about being able to pay people's salaries, and that's the main thing. And what we try to look for with the fund balance is to have 3 months of everybody's salary saved, so that if something goes wrong, we can still pay people for at least up to 3 months. But I don't mind sitting down and going through this and talking about it.
We don't have ESSER anymore to fall back.
That's right.
It's not a cushion.
And Dr. Shotwell, I'm not saying that this is bad.
Oh, I know,
By
but
any
it's have an
means.
input.
I just want us to sit down, because in 2026, respectfully saying, I mean, you won't be here. So we need to understand now. So, sitting down in that respect, going forward, as you just said, we will have sat down and did a work session looking at this. So going into next year's budget and then the following school year's budget, we'll already, okay, wait a minute. We need to do X, Y,
I
Z.
will be here to help y'all.
Oh, I know that. I know that. I get that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if all of us have, the mindset, okay, this is where we are, this is where we're trying to get to, and this is how we're going to get there. I think it would just enhance all of us, knowing the bells and whistles with what has been put together in that respect.
Absolutely. And I think where the breakdown probably was in changing superintendents, which, because you always are working on your budget for the next year, starting in about December.
Right.
And, and so when I came here, y'all had already submitted your draft budget and everything else.
Right.
And so that's where it gets lost in translation, because for me in Rockingham, I would have a budget meeting, or we would dedicate more time on the front end and say, we're going to get up here, we're going to go through this thing. And, you can send questions ahead of time, or we can ask questions when we're here.
Right.
And then go through it that way and then approve it at the next meeting.
Sure.
We'd have a work session.
Right.
And then go to a regular meeting for that.
That's the way it's usually done.
Right. Yeah, that's what we normally do.
And that's fine.
So with saying that, we need to get a date now for a work session as soon as possible.
Because y'all got everything in front of you now.
Right.
The original budget and you'll see the updates, both with the state and local funds.
Yeah, that's in here now.
That's on the 2 things that I handed out to you as well.
Oh, yeah, right, okay.
That incorporates all the budget allocation changes from budget change 1, budget 38.
Right. And I guess I probably can wait to that meeting, but I do want to scratch the surface on this. 90 days is good, But I would love to see us have more than 90 days, you know, reserved in that respect. So to me, that's kind of like, okay, that money, it exists, but it doesn't exist. You know, when you actually
Oh,
look
yeah.
at things.
It's like what we do at home.
Right. Yeah, I would love to see us with more than 90 days, if it's possible, you know, looking at the balance.
I have been known to increase people's fund balances over my 21 years. We left Rockingham County with $23.5 million. And we never got an increase from our county commissioners in 16 years.
So I can expect 23.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna have to print some of it though. I gotta tell you.
Ms. Hill, you said
I
soon,
did.
date next week, are
Well,
we looking at next week?
we're gonna look at next week, maybe the week after next.
The seventh? 2/4, what?
Is it two,
No, I don't think so.
When?
November 7th? Okay.
I can make this up work. We won't do it. I have something, but I can make it work. Switch it around to.
Would it work better to have it a little bit earlier than the regular board meeting time, or do we need to keep the same time?
Yeah, I mean, if we could do that too.
What time is that? What time you talking? Cause I work a full-time job.
Me too.
It's part of your job.
Would be good if we could have it early.
Yeah.
I know.
We could do it 3 or 4 o'clock in the day
Oh,
start.
no, it'd be good, you know, if we did it at 5,
5 is fine.
okay.
We compromise, we work together.
We can't get,
Yeah, 4 o'clock.
See, she had that, not me.
You know how I looked at her too. No, seriously though, I will, you know, to get things done, sometimes you have to sacrifice, and I will take a.
You're not eating lunch, sugar?
That's what I'm saying, and
So we can do
Well,
it
let's,
4.
so can we do earlier then?
Let's do 4, at least 4. You can get, Miss Jenkins can get a sandwich, so you can eat your lunch block. Miss Jenkins, you get some Jersey Mike's sandwich. Yeah,
well, we need, actually, well, okay. we
Will the
just do
new,
that. I was gonna
finance
say,
person be here by then?
have a Work session, yes.
So what I would, if it's okay with you all, what I would like to do is to basically take the original budget and go through and highlight each funding source, if I could. And if there's anything particular that you see in there that you got a particular question about that you really want me to hone in on, you just let me know.
Bring the 5 positions.
Okay,
We switched up. Bring those.
okay.
Yes. And let's connect 4:30.
I thought we
4:30.
said 4, I put 4 in my phone.
4:30. 4:30. So I can get at least 30-minute lunch.
We said we're on the beach.
Yeah, you know, I'm eat. 4:30, seriously. 4:30, November 7th.
essential service,
Where? You all want to meet here? Or central services?
man, we gonna come here. You already here. Why we
That's
can't
right.
meet 4 o'clock?
Okay.
You already here.
I would feel.
Sometime, right?
No, seriously, we can meet, wherever you all want to.
This is good right here. Yeah.
4:30.
This-
4:30? Yes.
So what's the final day and time?
November 7th,
4:30.
4:30 here.
And Ms. Jenkins will send out the room that will be in.
8:25. That
Can't
was
say
on.
that.
Oh, you
You
can't
gotta
say.
reserve it first.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's why she'll send it to us.
I got you. All right.
All right, so moving right along, the next item on the agenda. Is curriculum instruction, Dr. Tammy, but.
Let's see.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just have a few updates from curriculum and instruction, just a few things, and Ms. Vegas has a few things as well that she will share. But just to make you all aware, one of the things we're working on now is governance school. So the governance school application and information has come out. And because we are a tier 1 county, that means we can submit 2 names this year. And we also have the opportunity to do 2 names of the superintendent's choice. So the early college is already working on an application with at least 1 student, and the high school is also working with some students. So we are looking forward to those names and getting that information in, because this will be a wonderful opportunity for our students. Secondly, I do want to say, not to put a damper on anything, but we did give our students the Read to Achieve test, our 3-4 transition students, which are those students that are in 4th grade, but they're still carrying the reading retaining label on them. So we did test 19 of those. I think maybe 2 more were added, but out of those 19, we had 0 students. That was 3, 4, or 5. So that is, like I said, not to cause an alarm to set off, but just to make you aware, because I know that information floats in the community, so this is where you need to hear it from.
Exactly.
So-
Turn it around.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
we're going to
Turn it around quick.
So that just means that we have just a little bit more work to do. We'll start harder than maybe we anticipated, but we will get it done, and we will begin the portfolio process with those students. And some of the other things that we will do to try to turn it around, are things that we will do with all of our students, but of course, putting a greater emphasis on our 3-4 transition students. And those items are interventions, which we are already starting. WIGA is going to, they already have tutors in place as well as literacy specialists, but we are going to add at least 3 additional tutors at WIGA to possibly give us a tutor at each grade level. That could be a tremendous support. We're also going to try to make sure we put more emphasis on small group instruction and even one-on-one when we can. And we're going to make sure that differentiation is taking place, because that can be a huge barrier for our students if we're trying to teach them all the same way. So like I said, not to sound the alarm, I'm confident that we'll make some gains. We just have to be patient and realize that we did not get to where we are overnight. So we may not turn it completely around overnight, but we'll keep working to try to make things better. Absolutely. Thirdly, our literacy intervention plan is finalized and hopefully will be presented to you all at the November board meeting. And that focuses again on our literacy instruction at the elementary level. And we will also talk about our IRPs, which are our individual reading plans, which will also help our students as well. Benchmark data. We are not presenting benchmark data tonight because we're going through it, dissecting that data, trying to get it into some data spreadsheet where we have different labels at the top so that we can break it down. Yes, the principals are doing their own data analysis, but at the district level, we are working on it. Ms. Robin Davis and Ms. Akila Robinson, we're really trying to pull that information out and put it into a spreadsheet so that we can look at each individual student and see where those students are. That way we can determine where the intensive instruction needs to take place. We can look at what root cause analysis is going on. We can just try to analyze the total student and see what we need to do to try to make things better for our students. That is pretty much all that I have for the most part of where we are right now, but I will take any questions that you might have at this time. Our governor's school deadline is December. We are hoping to be able to submit before the December 13th deadline.
And we haven't had it in our district in a long time.
That's why we're really hoping that we will have an early college student and that we will have a traditional high school student. That is what we are praying for, because we have had it. And again, it will be good for our students if we can have it. Because we get 2 this time. And that gives us an upper edge, that way if only two apply, then the superintendent's choice would naturally be both. But if the arts department and things, our students will be highlighted. And that is something that if our students are accepted, or better yet, I should say when our students are accepted to government school, then we want to celebrate those students.
Mhm.
And we want to put them on the map, market Weldon City Schools and let everyone know we are here on the map, not going anywhere. And this is what we're doing, we're producing products as well as any other school district.
Dr. Brown, we're talking about government school, it made me think about, and I don't know if this is part of curriculum, I think that is part of the actual congressman choosing someone, but to be a page. Is that part of, that's not part of the curriculum?
It could be.
It could be.
Okay.
Usually it's done privately through the parent and the child.
Yeah.
When I did governance pages.
Yeah.
Governance pages, yes.
It could be, and in some cases, I've seen where we reached out, to that department to see what we had to do to see if we could get one of our students to be a page.
Well, but having our students exposed to things like that is just. It's
They could be
really
governance
good.
pages, civic pages.
Helps.
Great
State, boy
opportunity.
state. Girl state, boy state program that they have.
Yeah.
But the nice thing about us having two choices is that they're guaranteed a slot.
Yeah, east and
Exactly.
west, is it still east and west?
Depends on what they're going after.
Right.
That's right.
If
It
it's
is
performing
still.
arts, math, or science, or English.
What about, I'm just thinking about when I was in school also, with the TIP program.
We still have that, yeah.
It still exists.
So do we have anyone coming from our district representing Weldon City Schools?
So I have not received any information on the Duke Tip program to find out, but I can find out. I can send some correspondence to find out.
And I know the parent, a lot of times it comes directly to the parents from TIP. Then to the school.
Any questions for Dr. Brown? Any other questions?
And with government school, it will be one in each area. We can't submit the same area at both schools. But that means our kids will be covered from both campuses. Any other questions?
Yes.
Yes.
So I know last month, Dr. Boone, you mentioned something about our gifted program and we were working on that. Where are we now with that?
So I have an AIG summit next Friday, Carolina, which I plan to attend. And I've been in conversation with Stephanie Cyrus from the North Carolina Department of Health and Instruction, just trying to see what we can do to try to provide services to our students that are already identified. And there's different things that we can do. It's just a matter now of trying to pull together some of those resources and see how we can roll those resources out to our students in the schools. So I'm also looking at who's certified with AIG certification, because it makes it so much easier if a person is certified to pay that person stipend or to pay that person a portion of salary from AIG funds. But you have to be certified to do so. And it helps to remove us from any kind of legalities, I should say.
Right. Because I do remember seeing something not long ago where we had some teachers who went back to get their certification.
Yeah, we may have some teachers who went back. I'm only.
Yes,
we did.
Three. I believe we have 3 in the district. And I do know one of those that says she is absolutely not interested at all in AIG. A second one is on the fence, and the third one I've not spoken to just yet.
Okay.
Now, Mrs. Bird Robinson, if at least one of those persons were to change their mind, that would take care of 2 schools, if that person could, because at this point, it's not so much about hiring an AIG coordinator or teacher, it's about rolling the services out. So if we have someone at this point who would be willing to help provide the services to the students, then we can filter through the rest of it. So that's just to get someone to try to commit at this point. And I hope we will be able to do so very soon. Maybe they'll give me some other creative ideas next week.
Thank you.
But I'll be happy to report back to you and let you know where we are with it in November.
Okay.
Do you have any more questions?
No additional questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
And I just have some, important dates that I want to point out. Dr. Bloom already covered the benchmarks and the Read to Achieve. So we have pre-ACT testing on October 30th, and that'll be the 10th graders at both Arctic and Williamson High School. We have ACT worksheets tested, and that's gonna be our seniors who are CPE completers. So Arctic will be doing theirs on November 13th and 14th, and Williamson High on December 3rd and 4th. And on the CTE side of things, we worked with the CTE modernization grant. It was $16,373. And what that grant is for is to add more hands-on experience to the pathways that we already have. So we plan to, since we are doing child development, we plan to get some things in like, child development. We had mock interviews at RDEC on October 22nd. We have mock interviews tomorrow for the Wilson High School, and they're sponsored by the North Valley Chamber of Commerce. So if you follow the Wellness CTE page, you probably been seeing all the things that we've been doing. And lastly, we're doing a career development plan implementation kickoff. Career development plans are required by the state before you graduate from 8th grade. You have to have a career development plan in place. So I met with the student counselors, the college advisors. So we're gonna come up with something where we let the community parents know what, the purpose is, and then we wanna make sure that we hit the different career clusters so the kids are familiar with, career choices and things like that. Any questions for me?
Thank you so much, Ms. Lee.
All right, thank you.
Next person presenting is going to be Ms. Okay, I'm sorry.
Ms. Hale, we skipped EC. I thought we said that was E1.
I was looking around and tell her. She was coming.
Greetings to each of you.
Good evening.
I don't really have anything different to report at this time, except for numbers. Our district compliance as of Monday was 88%. 99 students are identified. We have 9 students in the referral process, 7 from elementary, 1 from middle school, and 1 high school student. For pre-K, we have 31 pre-K students at this time. 6 of those students are EC students, and we still have just 4 pre-K students on the way. Any questions for me?
Yes.
In the past, we received an outline of students, not the individual students, but the number of students that have the different disabilities, like hearing, and then you go back and look at some of the old reports that we received usually monthly. So we'll know if that changed at all.
I can give it to you.
Okay.
I can give it to you now.
Oh, no.
You don't want it?
Next month
Okay,
will
but
be
I
better.
included it.
Right. I think Ms. Bird Robinson appreciate it.
Okay, Ms. Bird Robinson.
Okay, my question was, I think that number was very similar to the one that we had last month as far as compliance. You said it's 88 this month. And you told us that you were working on that. So I was kind of thinking we would be a little bit higher in compliance. Can you tell me where we are as far, because I know December 1 head count is coming up very soon.
It is.
So can you tell us why that number hasn't moved from 88%?
Well, if you remember last month, I told you I was reading all of the IEPs. I have now finished reading every single IEP in the district. I have given every EC teacher the work plan on annual reviews, revals, any corrections that need to be made. But we do not have an EC teacher at WEGA. That person is me. So I'm working on WEGA's, compliance to get it done as fast as I can. We're gonna be straight for December 1. I have every confidence in the team that we're gonna be right December 1.
What was it was 029 that we had to give some money back this past year?
Yeah, or we
Okay.
didn't, or we didn't get it, we didn't apply for it.
Right.
That's what it was,
Because we didn't do
with the previous administration.
right.
Yes.
029, Ms. Bullock, we usually have like 13, 14 students under that 029.
We do. We currently have 12,
Okay, 12.
and we are actively participating this year.
Okay,
Our first report is due next week. As a matter of fact.
so those 12 are actually receiving service.
But they don't all have to be EC students. Not all of them are EC, but the EC
Right.
students are receiving their services. And the other students are receiving behavior support.
Okay.
Ms. Bullock, it kind of faded out on me. Can you repeat what you just said?
Ms. Robinson was asking about, the students in 029, if they were receiving services, and they are. Those that are not EC students are receiving behavior support services. Those that are EC students are still receiving behavior support services, but they're also receiving what the IEP calls.
Any more questions, Ms. Bird Robinson?
I do not have any other questions.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bullock. Next item on the agenda is not up here. It's not on our agenda, but it's going to be Ms. Geneva
It's only
Bowman.
regular administration, the raw brush.
Oh, so that's not.
It is a 12-inch roll.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. I come before you tonight to present the federal program consolidated application. If you look on the second slide, I'm sharing with you, Weldon has a situation where we had a lot of funds left over for grant year 2023, which was the 22-23 school year. Those funds had to be expended by September 30th, so we've expended those. That's about $77,000 in Title I. Then we have all of grant year 4. First money in is the first money out. So we had to spend all of the money that came in 2022, 2023 first. So now we are preparing a plan. And part of the things that may have happened during that time was you had a lot of ESSER funds, and you could supplant, which means some things that you were doing before out of Title I, you were able to use ESSER, which was a lot more flexible. So that left a large buildup of Title I. You really should only carry over at most 15% of one grant year's funds. And as you see, we have what you have here, you have 2 years of grant year funds. This year, the state started a process where you have to budget separately every grant year. Before, your carryover would just lump in with your new money, you would budget it out, you would do one plan, you were done. But this year, in federal programs, we had to do grant year 1 budgets without having LBAS operational, which meant we could not enter anything. So grant year 1 was all the ESSER money that carried over July 1, and we expended by September 30th. We had to do all of grant year 3 funds. We have to do all of grant year 4 funds for each PRC. So that's created a little bit of delay in getting a lot of these things in, but I wanted you to see all of the funds. And when Dr. Sharp talked about that belly block,
I'm hoping it's smoothed out.
remember, principals, board members, community, we should not have this much money in that grant year 4. It should be about 10% of that number. So we have to work to support this year's money and support this year's students.
Right.
So the things that we want to do to move our schools forward, to support principals, to support teachers, to support school counselors, support our homeless students, support our arts program, our STEM programs, all of those fall within those consolidated applications. So I put over in the right, basically taken from grant details, what are the things that we're doing in the federal programs? In the consolidated applications, we have to put in what we're doing at the district level, overall at the district level. The schools in their Title I or their school improvement plans, they have to identify how they are going to budget out their school funds. But because we have talked, the schools did needs assessments, the schools sent in their plans for how they wanted to spend their money, things they wanted to do. And as you know, plans change when things come up and you realize that, oh, there's this program that we didn't think a lot of students were going to be interested in. Now we need funds to purchase maybe 4 more robotics kits or maybe 2 more band instrument pieces, then you may have to move some money, adjust the money around. But for Title I, we're looking at spending funds, of course, in teachers, teacher assistant salaries, to make sure that we have smaller class sizes and additional small group support, homeless student supplies, day and extended day tutors. And as you'll see, some of the language, the words may change a little bit for what you have on your printed copy. I was at a Title I or federal programs meeting this week and just came back today. And some of the lessons learned and meeting with my regional support, we've added in some of the additional pieces that were in the budget, but were not spelled out explicitly in the plan. So we wanted to make sure that they all match. Parental engagement activities, which is required. We pay a part of our parental involvement coordinator salary at the district level for parental involvement activities. And she does support our district parent advisory council. So I'm happy to see that we have that back up and running. Professional development expenses, transportation for tutorials, and our McKinney-Vento students. So we still have, as you'll see on the last page, we do still have a large number of homeless students that require, some of those students require transportation because they live outside of Weldon's attendance zone where the buses normally travel. Title II, BT coordinator, 50% of her salary, mentor stipends. We're blessed to be able to put that in this year. BT induction program, because we have to prepare for our August. So with this funds, we're leading up to everything that would happen before September 30th, if you think about it that way. And our BT program, want to make sure we allocate funds to be able to pay for the BTs to come in and those staff members that will be supported, and such as their mentors, an opportunity for them to meet them during that time. Recruitment incentives that we put in the board approved earlier, and we use our ESSER funds first, but of course, if we get a new person in that still falls into those approved categories, we would pay that person's recruitment incentive bonus out of our Title II, which is allowed. So that we pay first everyone that we hired with that process out of ESSER, and of course, that is no longer there. Tuition, licensure cost reimbursement, HR organization membership, and under Title II, we have one private school that accepts equitable services, and we have to honor their request based upon their enrollment. And they, because of that, they earn $18,850, 0 missing, and 62 cents. Title I CSI, that is only for WIGA. They are a comprehensive school improvement school, and they received additional funds, and this is the last year of those funds. This is the fund that you do not want to receive. This means you are the lowest 5% of schools in the state of North Carolina. So they received those funds, so you're supposed to exit after this year. So with that in mind, that's another one of those. If we do well this year and we exit, those funds will not be there to support some of the salaries that it is supporting in some activities. Title IV, school nurse, because we do have an RN that can come out of the school nurse funding initiative, but we only have one. The LPN is not able to come out of the school nurse funding initiative because she does not have the appropriate license. You have to be an RN. So that's called a nurse extender. And because of our student special cases that we have at the elementary school and also one at the high school, we have to have someone with a medical license on staff to support those students in need. So we have that nurse extender, and part of that contract that the board has previously approved comes out of Title IV supplies for that school health. So we have to buy the diabetic testers, things like that, to make sure that we can support our students. Also, support for the arts education, STEM extracurricular activities, and art and STEM related field experiences. Those are some of the activities in Title IV that we've added in. And rural and low income, paying for tutorials, enrichment for after school field trip experiences that are aligned to academic or course standards, professional development, instructional resources, mentor support, and check-in system for students and visitors with computer supplies. That was something we bought with that grant year 4 money. So if you go out to the school and you see students checking in, part of that was bought with that rural and low income. That is the most flexible of all the funds. Rural and low income is very flexible, followed by Title IV. The other titles are pretty strict on what you can and cannot keep. A part of applying for the federal funds, you have to do only one part requires a date that the board meets to review the plan. And it's the annual federal programs prayer certification. You do it every year. And what that basically says, as a condition of receiving federal funds, you can't deny a student the right to exercise their faith. And that is annually, we have to do it, and we have to put the date that the board approves as a part of the approval process of the consolidated is approving this annual certification. Current grants, I know you all are always interested in how we can bring more money into our district. We are always seeking more funds. Grants that have been submitted, we've submitted the feminine hygiene grant for $5,000 again this year. We received it last year. Safe Schools grant this year came into 2 parts. Part A was for the school resource officer. We've submitted that grant. Mr. Hunter, myself, and Sergeant Vaughn worked with Dr. Shotwell to make sure, and the Sheriff's Department, to make sure we had all the pieces there. $260,226.11. They have not awarded any grants yet, so that is out there waiting. Currently completing or pending submission, Safe Schools grant, that Part B, equipment, contract services for school psychologists, social work. You can get a maximum for a PSU of $500,000 with equipment. We are putting in for $500,000. We've got our last quote today so that we can submit that grant. Services, $350,000. They want contracts, but not hiring people. So contract services to have that additional school counselors, school social worker, and psychologists to support our students in crisis. And training, $350,000 is the maximum that you can receive in training. And part of that is threat assessment, the risk threat assessment. And so we have been attending free virtual 60-minute sessions with Raptor for threat assessment, the stigma threat assessment. But 60 minutes is not enough to train staff. It gives you some awareness, but we need to be very prepared for supporting our students, identifying students in crisis, and getting them the support and services that they need. Part of that is having a psychologist to be a part of that threat assessment. That's why we wanted to write that in, so that our school counselors are wonderful, but they're not psychologists. So we need someone to say that the student is or is not a threat. We need someone who's really qualified to make those assessments when it gets to that level. Rural and low income schools, we have submitted that. That's PRC 109. School improvement grant, CSI, we wanted to wait until the new permanent principal comes on staff to be able to look over that grant to make sure that the research-based strategies that we're putting in are ones that she also supports, and giving her time to meet with our school improvement team to make any adjustments before we hit submit. We will have a site visit on Tuesday from the state staff to also support her with bring her on board with what we have before us, which is this last year of the exiting that status. Future competitive grants, as 21st Century Learning Center cohort 18 that we just found out about this week. That grant opens on January 2025. The difference They did one year have had the summer grant, which basically is like they gave you money to just do a mini grant. They have written to the federal government to get the ability to do a 3-year summer grant process. So you can do the 3-year intensive summer programs or 3-year smaller mini grant kind of summer programs. So that makes it more flexible for districts who struggle to find people who can be away from their families in the evening or afternoon and give more opportunities with Hexagon for our students to have some of those creative programs as well. The NC Stronger Connections grant, there's $8 million on the table. They gave a grant out last year and there's still $8 million left. So they're submitting another RFP for PRC 145, which is very similar to that second part of that school safety grant that we're writing. So we're going for everything because our kids need and deserve everything. In student services, I did give you the update for current number of McKinney-Vento students. Adding to that, we have 4 students who are involved with the foster care system through DSS. So I'll start reporting that number along with the homeless students. So and April Woodard gave me that count today, so we have 4. So I seek your approval of the consolidated application. You did have to pull a big packet application. Vice Chair, I move to approve the consolidated application.
Second.
It's been motion by Ms. Kimberly Robinson, second by Ms. Lee Sykes to approve the consolidated application. Are there any questions? All those in favor, say aye. Mr. Robinson?
She said,
She did. Can't sit in here, aye, so ayes have it, and the consolidated grant the application has been approved. Any,
I have one. Can we make sure that our McKinney-Vento, including 4, have something, make sure that they are Thanksgiving and Christmas?
We are working with a grant for Food Line
Okay,
and working with partners for the Toys for Tots, Christmas kind of process and the families for Thanksgiving.
also seek out our Greek organizations. They also have monies to give, to donate for our McKinney-Vento. So if you want to send letters to them, they will donate as well.
So I will make sure that we get that request for fundraising, so you know that now, okay, the next board meeting.
Okay,
We will, thank you so much for.
okay.
I have a question.
yes, Ms. Burrows?
It's for Ms. Faulkner.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Faulkner, also, if you'll give me a call, my family and I always sponsor for the holidays. And we also have some monies that we can support you with as well from a pot of money from families where we like to support. So give me a call and I can give you what we have taken up.
Thank you so very much.
And also I wanted to ask you about another grant that I learned about today. It's through the Biden-Harris administration. It's a $70 million grant. Do you have any information on that?
That's school safety oriented.
It's for school-based mental health services. And it's $70 million.
Yeah.
I was aware of one grant, so I'm not sure if it's a part of this one or not, but I will definitely make sure that I reach out to my contacts. And if you have any information that when I contact you for the Thanksgiving family support, that I can get that from you.
Okay, and it's through the U.S. Department of Education. The $70 million grant is.
That North Carolina Stronger grant that I mentioned on the end, that is a part of a federal one, so I'm wondering if it's kind of part of those 2 pieces. But I definitely make sure that we shop. Thank you so much. Move this out.
Any other questions?
All right, next item on the agenda, come on, Mr. Hans. Been ready to come up here all night.
Been a long,
I know, right?
good evening, everyone.
good evening.
just want to give you some updates, few things that we have going on in the district. In Operation standpoint. So, you know, we do have the new chiller that we had on there. Last one, at the timeline was moved up. Received a phone call that they had to go back to the original timeline. So the chiller would not be here on site until in late November, early December. And back to the original timeline. The central office expansion. I told you last we was on hold due to the town where they did not have a city inspector. Now they have someone in place. That individual had us to go back, and we had to go back in the contract, and go back and get an engineer to come look at what they had already started and put the pretty much start the whole cycle over from the beginning. So now we have the engineer on board. He's come out, looked at what we have, and what we trying to do, and so we're waiting for his report so we can get that project back up and get that. We did have an incident at the middle school. I don't know if anybody was out there today, but we had the Brian and Lassen secretary company had to come in. We had a pipe that needed to be removed. So we did get that completed today. It's back up and going. So we had to dig to remove that pipe. We should be straight. We've also been working with the Garland Company, which is a roofing company, looking at the middle school. They came in, did an assessment, so we're looking at if they can get we have a few spots that need to be prepared at middle school as well as the central office. So we have more details for you next month. Sir, just a few things for we had a meeting with Ratio and CNT. We met on the 23rd. We had a owners, architect, and contractor meeting. As we reported earlier, CNT have their demolition guys already there on site, came and set up their office space in the gymnasium lobby. That's what they'll be working out of there. They've taken over the building, so pretty much have it now where no one can enter the building. Still have a few things on the ground. Building has been taken over by their demolition team. It's just the school building. On the 30th, we will have a furniture working session with Ratio and Blankenship. So we'll be looking at the furniture that we're going to be using into the new building. Having discussions about what we'll be looking for. Also looking at it. Earlier, we're looking at potential dates for the official groundbreaking celebration. So you'll be hearing more about that. And we'll also have our next meeting on the 6th. So November the 6th, we'll have another meeting, OAC meeting with the CNT and Ratio. That will be they're looking at right now having that meeting in person at the gym in the lobby. It will also be virtual. They're setting up the internet for their purpose, and so they're going to meet and be virtual as well as in person. Take the location. Any questions?
What time is that meeting?
10:30.
I do have a question, Mr. Hunter. You mentioned about the middle school and they took a pipe up. For what purpose?
So it's clogged.
It's clogged.
Yeah, we had the line, so we've been having issues with that on the front side of the building. And so we had a contractor come in and ran the camera through the line so that we could actually find out what was keeping from backing up. And so we saw that there was drops in the line. That was following the line up. So, we tried to see if we could get them pumped out, but one of them was too big, it wasn't moving, or it was at the spot where it would get jammed and cause more damage, further damage than we do. And we may would have to do like we did at the beginning of school, had to shut the building down. So, the best thing to do, or the quickest and easiest, was to.
What about the problem down at the elementary school?
That got fixed.
It did.
It was just those front bathrooms. And, as a matter of fact, Chris and our maintenance staff
They did.
and Mr. Johnson, they asked us if we could buy a 150-foot snake to take care of 90% of our clog problems that we have.
Okay.
And it's only about $300.
Okay.
So, but we had somebody come out and help us out. It was not as bad as I had anticipated in my mind when you think about it, sewage backing up into the bathroom. But like I said in the email, it was about a 1 foot radius off of the drain there. But yeah, it still smelled. But they cleaned it all up. I mean, everything's back to normal.
Any questions for Mr. Hunter?
Yes, I have
All
two
right,
questions.
Okay.
And one of them may be more for Dr. Shotwell. But Mr. Hunter, here comes the bus. Are we up and completely running with that now?
To my knowledge, we are with Here Comes the Bus. We haven't had anybody, any questions.
Okay, so everything, including the technology piece and all of that?
To my knowledge, it is. Like I said, nobody has asked me, I didn't get any message that anyone was trying to get in and couldn't get in. Because we do have the infographics on the website and getting that information out to the parents. So if there's any question, I haven't received it.
Okay. And I know it's been a couple of years back, but we had someone from DPI Transportation they did a telephone conference with us, and we talked with them about the rate that we are reimbursed for our bus drivers. Is my understanding that rate has gone up. Dr. Shotwell or Mr. Hunter, can you all get that information for us? Because if those rates have gone up and we're reimbursed for it, we certainly want our drivers to be able to get that top rate that we are receiving. So can we get that information and send that out to all board members?
Sure, we'll get that. I'll get Mr. Hunter to check with the DPI staff, and I'll go online and I'll look and see with the allotments on the finance officer side to see if there's options in there for that.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
There should be a scale, Dr. Shaw.
Yeah, it is.
That we
Yes.
created.
Yeah, and we would just adjust it
Yes.
across the board.
Well, when we get to
Yeah.
transportation, I have some other comments about
Okay.
those funds, if it's an increase. Want to do it now?
Sure.
Okay, we've had some issues across the county, across the state, nationally, and right here in Weldon with, bus issues. As far, we got an email that a parent entered a bus. It was a little irate and Shotwell sent us that email. We know in our neighboring county, we had some people, some students, some young men enter a bus with guns and assaulted the student. We want to make sure that our students are safe while they're transported on our rolling classrooms, as Dr. Shotwell said earlier, that alluded to. If we do have any extra money, is there anything that we can do about bus monitoring, especially on our elementary school bus?
Now, some of those routes do have monitors on there, bus monitors. No, all four. The day that we had that problem was that the monitor was not able to run.
But we supposed to, I thought we trained and hired so that when somebody was out, there was a backup. That's what I remember from Ms. Fields, right? We trained more than what we needed. So there should never be a vacancy. Cause should be more people trained that are needed for the bus. So that's my concern.
Yeah.
And,
Mr. Ken, you, Ms. Tiller, looking at that. Yeah.
and my next concern is implementing weather. We've had our students on buses doing some high winds, going home. Think we should have gone home a little earlier. We've had some students, and staff going home in some turbulent rain, when I think they should have probably been out of school. And this week, they went to school in a whole lot of fog. When some of our neighboring counties went to school later. And there was a bus accident in town of Halifax, where we are located. That's under our district as well. And there was a bus accident with a kid bus, I do believe. So we need to make sure that, and I know that most of the people who are looking at the traffic, looking at the weather, may not live in Wayland. So we need to pinpoint someone that actually lives in the district to see what's going on in the district. Because the weather changes a whole lot. Because it was heavy fall. Now,
No, it
every morning.
Yeah.
By 6:30 a.m. So it was heavy fall. You couldn't really see in front of you. For a bus to be out that early and for children to have to go and stand at the road waiting for a bus that early, it was just a little bit too much fall for my taste. So we just need to keep that in mind to make sure our scholars stay safe all the time, especially during hurricane season, and especially now when we have a whole lot of fall. We don't want our employees coming in and having accidents, and we don't want our children on those buses.
And also,
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
I'm ready, I'm ready.
Okay. And also to kind of add to that, to make sure, and I know that you said something about having that conversation with, there's someone here in town that can kind of look at that, but also Department of Transportation is right here, in Halifax. And to kind of, partner with them, because if there are certain times when their vehicles don't leave the lot, then we need to make sure that our buses are, in line with them, if that is the case, because as Ms. Robinson said, we want to make sure that everyone is safe. Our students and our staff that are traveling in as well. So definitely want to make sure that we have a plan in place for that. And one other question, Mr. Hunter, about the buses. Technology. What kind of technology do we have on our buses? Do we still have, and I'm just thinking about emergency situations, we still have cell phones?
Cell phone wise, now, like the only cell phone I'm familiar with is the driver has their own purses.
Okay, so we don't have any kind of technology up there for our drivers in case there's an emergency and they had to stop. The only thing you're saying that they have is their personal technology.
To my knowledge, yes, ma'am. Other than Mr. Tiller, I think he's the only one that has a district phone.
Well, and what we could do is we could look at maybe a grant or to install radios, but we also need to see even though we're flat out here, we still need to make sure that we can get coverage on that.
Right.
Because it's very similar to the Viper system that the Highway Patrol uses. We would have our own schedule there. The school would have a base station, and every school basically have what we grew up with, walkie-talkies. But just with a really nice antenna on it. So we can look at that and just see how much it would cost. Because that's nothing with us being small like we are. It's when you're looking at trying to do something like that, it's not something that's going to be
Very expensive.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And especially now that we're only going to have really 3 schools instead of 4 sites.
Well, on top of that, to piggyback on what Ms. Bird Robinson just said, just as the last thing, as far as safety, we probably need some training for our bus drivers. So they are encountered with an irate parent at the bus stop or someone that is coming on the bus to try to harm someone else. They need to know what the protocol is or what to do. And I don't even know if I would know what to do. But, we need to have some training for them to make sure that they know exactly what they need to do. Because it's, if just a stone throw away, from us, it can happen where we're not exempt to any of that.
Are there any other questions or discussion, Mr. Hunter? If not, we're gonna move right along. Thank you so much, Mr. Hunter. Thank you to everyone else that presented tonight. We do not have anything on our consent agenda. So now we're going to, first of all, bring you, I didn't add it up here, and I conferred with Dr. Shotwell on two things that we have to mention that we did not include, that was not included on the agenda. So I would like to make an amendment to the agenda, if at all possible.
You can do that by motion.
Okay.
So motion to amend and then state whatever the additional items are.
Okay. Well, the two
At this
things,
point, it would need to pass with a 2/3 vote.
okay, well, the two things I'm just running by the board, two things that were omitted from this agenda were, the first thing was Andrew Jackson. Okay. Andrew Jackson Elementary School with these, study lists. And the second thing was,
The restoration.
restoration for WI Weldon in Action.
Yeah, the Ralph Bunch School site, they're applying for a grant, to revitalize, the location, and part of the requirement is that they, are looking at a lease of a minimum of 5 years. So right now, I spoke with, Sharon Lynn with their,
We need to add them to the agenda first.
Yeah, we
oh
did.
yeah, I'm sorry.
I mean, that we add, Andrew Jackson study and list and the, Weldon in Action to the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been motion and probably motion by Mr. Kimberly Robinson, second by Mr. Lee Sykes, to amend the agenda, to add the Andrew Jackson study list and to add the Weldon Action request, to
Just an update.
just an update.
Yeah.
Weldon Action. All right, so all those in discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Ms. Bird Robinson?
Aye.
Okay. And I for Tiffany Hill, ayes have it, so we're gonna move forward with the agenda. The first item is going to be Andrew Jackson study list. And they want to take it, but I listened to it, I don't know if you all tuned in to the meeting, but I did listen to it. And approved?
Yes,
Okay, awesome.
yeah.
Actually, they're looking at it a little bit more, because they need a little bit more information, but for the most part, yes, but they're moving forward, we're good. So that's good news for us.
And so I've asked Mr. Hansberry to bring back a contract to be about $3,500 to do more research to present for the next level, but it is exciting.
It is.
Because we're finding that it has multi ways that it's touching history for the area. And I'm kind of excited about it, but I talk.
A lot of history.
Yeah, I love it.
A lot of history.
And then the other one is also historical of nature, is the Ralph Bunch site,
Ralph J.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Mhm.
Well, y'all have to forgive me on the study I did. I forgot to put the J in there. But I want you to know that when that came on Jeopardy, I got it.
Did you?
I was in my house. They said, how'd you know that? I said, because I'm working in Weldon and I know a lot about the man.
Exactly.
But anyway, they're wanting to do some work. It's a true story. But they're wanting to do some work. And one of the requirements for the grant they're applying for is to have a 5-year lease. And so they brought us a draft. I've shared it with Sharon Lynn that works with Rod Malone. And so they're still doing some fine tuning on that. What I'd like to be able to do, with y'all's permission, is just to have that available for for possible approval when we have board meeting, the budget meeting.
Okay.
Because they need to apply for the grant in December. And so they just need to
to make
commit.
sure it's on the announcement. We can do it.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. That's all I got.
All right,
One concern, I raised it before and I raised it again. The liability, because that is our property.
Yeah, that's what they're,
All right.
yep, that's it.
Just want to make sure. All
Yeah.
right,
We want to make sure that it's clarified
Exactly.
beyond belief.
exactly.
Okay. And if nothing else, we will, end this open session and go back to closed session. So we thank you all for coming out tonight and participating. We